Now tuned in to the show where you learn the discipline to show up day after day to do the work, the confidence to put yourself out there boldly and authentically, and the mental toughness to continue showing up, doing the work, putting yourself out there even when the success you have expected to achieve is yet to be achieved. And on top of all this, you get a huge dose of personal initiative, which is the go-getter energy that moves any human being, even animals, to go and make things happen instead of waiting for things to happen. We put all this together in one bundle, one package, one philosophy, one mindset. There's even a book and this masterclass right here that is called Work on Your Game. My name is Dre Baldwin, also known as Dre All Day, and welcome to the show. Today's topic is how to let go of old shit. How do you let go of old things that have already occurred in your life? Maybe people that you need to let go of, energies that you need to let go of. How you just let go of all the old shit in your life. Now, I talked about moving on, how to move on in life back in masterclass number 1349. Today's topic is about not letting the past continue to take up space and live rent-free in your mind, as they say. Don't allow whatever has happened in your past, whatever energies you've been walking around with, whatever resentments maybe that you've been carrying in your mind, to stop allowing them to live rent-free in your head, especially any type of energy, any thought, any memory, anything that is not making you better and helping you to progress and move forward. Because the whole purpose of us being here on this planet, being alive, is to prosper, to move forward, to get better, to do something that's going to make things better for somebody else. Because the only way you can make things better for yourself is by somehow, some way, making things better for other people. It's just the way that life is set up. So that's the reason why you're here. So any energy that you're carrying, any thoughts that you're thinking of, any memories that you're holding on to, anything that you're not letting go of that is not making you better, that is keeping you in the same place, or even worse, moving you backwards. And they're kind of the same thing, since the world is always moving forward. Being neutral is basically going backwards. All of those things, all that old stuff, you gotta let it go. And that's what today's topic is about. How to let go of all the old shit. Whatever that old shit may be, just letting the fact that it happened be there. Let it exist. It did happen. You accept the fact that it happened because you don't have any other choice. You can't change it. You can't rewrite that history, whether it's something that the whole world knows about or something that only you know about. You can't rewrite that history. That history is there. It's going to stand as it is, whether you love the fact that it occurred or you're not so happy about the fact that it occurred. That's not going to change anything about it. How do you let go of that old shit knowing that it's already what it is? Now, again, in the moving on masterclass that I did back in 1349, I told you how in life sometimes we even hold on to things that were great for us. You might have had a great outcome or some great experience or some great accomplishment at some point in your life that you haven't moved on from, and you're allowing whatever happened back then to keep you in that same spot. You aren't making yourself any better. You aren't figuring out a way to create a new accomplishment or create a new victory or a new win for yourself. So letting go of old shit is not necessarily just about the negative things, but those are the ones that those are the ones that when someone's trying to figure out how do they let go of something that's already happened, usually is something that they didn't want to happen. It's not usually, or how do I let go of this success that I had? I need somebody to help me let go of my old success. That's usually not the problem that people think that they have, but that can be a problem for you as well. But today is how to let go of old shit, period, no matter what it is, and move on into, first of all, stepping into the present, and then to position yourself mentally and emotionally, spiritually, to start focusing on what you're going to do for your future. Because the present is the only time that we have, and whatever you do right now in this presence is going to create your future. Point number one, today's topic, once again, how to let go of old shit. Number one, remember that history collects dust. All right, everybody understands that? What I mean by that is all history, good and bad, is just an object. It's like an artifact that you bought when you were on some exotic vacation. You love the artifact and you bought it because you just couldn't not buy it. But then you brought it home, and maybe you were a little bit excited about it for a while, and then you set it on the shelf and you show it to everybody who comes by, and people who come to your house and they see it sitting there on the mantle. They ask you about it and you let them see it and you tell them about it and you tell the whole story around it. But in the end, that object is still sitting on the shelf. That's all it's doing. your history, whatever you've been through, whatever you've done, again, the things that you loved, the fact that you did them, and the things that you don't want anybody to bring up, whatever it is, it's history and it is collecting dust. All right, it can't do anything as an inanimate object. And that's what objects do, right? They're a trophy. They're basically like a trophy that you won 5 years ago, and you took a bunch of photos with the trophy when you won that championship, and you're very happy that you had the trophy. The memory means a lot to you, and you feel good knowing that there are people out there who know you for having won that trophy, and you keep the trophy because you're proud of the fact that you won it. But eventually is going to come a time in your life where you're going to walk past that trophy in your own house, and you're not even going to think about it. You're not even going to acknowledge it. You're going to go a whole week and not even remember that you won that trophy. Now, 2 days after you won the trophy, you may still be excited to think about it. You may still go and just look at it just so you can feel good about it. And you may still be getting likes off the photo that you posted of yourself holding the trophy and getting congratulations from other people because you won the trophy. But there's eventually going to come a point where that trophy gets old. Why? Because life moves on. That's the reason why the trophy gets old. And when I'm talking about a trophy here, I'm using that as a metaphor for anything that's happened in your life that is an artifact. It is slowly and steadily collecting dust because it is old, yet you haven't been able to let go of it. Now, again, you can keep the trophy. You can keep that history. You can keep that memory. You can keep it in the back of your mind. You can write it down. You can have the photos from it. You can put the trophy on your mantle and dust it off and have it looking nice so anybody comes in your house again, they'll see the trophy and they'll ask you, how'd you get that trophy? And you'll tell them a whole story and all of that. Listen, you can keep the trophy if you want to keep the trophy. But understand, eventually, you're going to be walking past that trophy every single day and not even acknowledge the fact that it's there. You're not even going to remember that it's there. And not because you are no longer proud of your accomplishment, but because you're going to have new things going on in your life. And as life moves on, the older something gets, the further away we get from the thing, the less we're thinking about the thing. That's just the way that we work as human beings. It's just the way we are. I don't know what else to tell you about that. It's just who we are as humans. We eventually move on from things. The longer that those things have existed, the longer those things have been around, and we just need to be all right with that. And this is something that you're going to do no matter what, whether you're thinking about it or not. You will slowly move on from the old things, as long as you're doing some other things that we're going to talk about later on in this masterclass. But any object, that means it's dead, it happened, it's done. Anything in your past is an object. The reason why it's an object is because it can't change. You are not an object because you can change. You're alive right now, which means you can get smarter. You're taking the Work on Your Game masterclass. I guarantee you 100% you're getting smarter right now. So 5 minutes from now, you will be a different person than you were 5 minutes ago, simply because you're doing something that is making you change, making you evolve, is making you grow. And some people, they change in ways that are not necessarily for the better for them, but they are changing. We are all changing every single day. The cells in your body some are dying and some are being replenished and new cells are being formed every single day. You are never the exact same person from one day to the next on a scientific micro level. You understand what I'm saying? You are always changing. But an object, something that happened in the past, some history of your life, that's an object. It already happened. There was a beginning, a middle, and an end. There was the ascending action, there was the climax, and there was the descending action, and then there was the conclusion of the whole situation, right? You can't change it. What happened then is what happened then, and there's nothing you can do about it. It is an object. It is collecting dust. Every day it gets older. Every day it's further and further from the present. Every day fewer and fewer people are thinking about it, and there are more and more people who know nothing about it, and there is absolutely nothing you or anyone else can do to change that object from its state, because it's set as it is. That's what I mean by history collecting dust. All of your history is collecting dust right now. You're 25, everything in the first 24 years of your life, 25 years, is collecting dust every single day. Every day is getting older and older, and there are more and more people coming into the world who know nothing about that history, and you know what? Don't give a damn about that history. Whether you love it or not, they don't give a damn because they don't know nothing about it, and they don't care about it because they got the present moment to focus on. And that's the same way that you're going to be too. You will think less and less about your own history the more you move on. Think about it right now. Think about what you were doing at this point, let's say 8 years ago. 8 years ago, 2012, at this time of year, what were you doing? Now, unless you have a really, really bad memory, you could probably come up with at least a vague idea of what you were doing at this point 8 years ago, right? But here's the question. When was the last time you thought about that thing and that period of life before I jogged your memory by asking you about it today? You probably haven't thought of it at all. It's probably been a long time since you thought of it. Why? Because history collects dust. You moved on. You had to live through 2013, 14, 15, 16, 17, all the way up to now. And you got a whole bunch of other things going on that you just don't have the resources to dedicate to looking at that trophy over and over again. Looking at that history is still there. It didn't go away, but it's just collecting dust because you got other stuff going on. That's just life, people. You don't have to think much about that trophy, even though you still have the trophy, because it already happened. There's nothing else you can do with it, nothing else you can do about it. Your trophies / memories will collect dust because you can't go back and relive them, but you are not a trophy. You are not an inanimate object. You can evolve, you can change, you can grow, you move. You don't have to sit in one place as a relic of a time that has passed. So the reason why this is the first point in today's subject, once again, is how to let go of old shit, is that the old things can't change. The old things they're not going anywhere. They're not changing. If you don't look at them for a week and then you look at them again a week from now, 8 days from now, they're still going to be the exact same thing that they were before. So you don't have to watch over old shit. It ain't changing at all. Okay, but new things, the present moment, the future, those things can evolve, those things can change, those things can grow. So I suggest you align with the things that are doing the same thing that you're doing. All right, it just makes sense. The law of association. You associate with old, stale things, guess what you're going to become? Do I need to answer that question? Point number 2. Today's topic is how to let go of old shit. Replace the old shit with some new shit. You want to let go of you got some old shit in your mind. I don't care if it was your greatest accomplishment or the worst thing you've ever been through in your life. You want to get rid of old shit. What you must do is go and do some new shit. You must go get some new shit. Get some new experiences in your life. Many people cannot let go of old shit, not because they treasure the memories so much necessarily. It's because they haven't done anything else since the old shit. So they ain't got nothing else to hold on to. There would be a void. There would be a vacuum in their universe if they were to let go of the old shit, because it ain't no new shit for them to grab onto. So their minds always go back to the old shit because there's nothing new for them to grab onto. The universe hates a vacuum. So when someone creates a vacuum by letting go of the old shit, but there's no new shit, you know what they do? They go right back to the old shit. If you know a person, male or female, who was in a relationship with a person that was not the right person for them, and they finally, after you told them 10 times and they didn't listen to you any of those 10 times, they finally came to their own conclusion that that person was the wrong person for them, left that individual, and then they go out into the world and they have this vacuum, right? They got this empty space because now they're single, now they don't have anybody around them, and they were unable to either they couldn't find another person or they were unable to establish a relationship with another person. So what do? They eventually go right back to that same asshole or that same bitch that they should have left the first time, or they should have left the first 10 times you told them. They didn't do that. They finally left on their own volition. And then when they finally did, because they had that vacuum and they were unable to fill that vacuum, or they're unable to deal with the fact that there was a vacuum, at least for a short period of time, what did? They had to fill the vacuum. With what? More of the old shit. Either they go back to the person that they know is wrong for them, or they go find a new person who is basically a different version of the same old asshole / bitch that they were supposed to get away from last time, and they had allegedly decided was the wrong type of person for them. But there they go right back with the exact same individual. Any of you know anyone who's done this? You do, huh? The reason why people end up back with old shit, thinking about old shit, doing old shit, basking in the energy of old shit, is simply because they ain't doing anything new. When you go and do new things and you meet new people and you go to new places and you force yourself to get new experiences, then you'll have some new shit to replace the old shit. You can stop thinking about the old shit. You'll stop thinking about it by default because you got so much going on right now. Life exists, ladies and gentlemen, in order to be lived. But understand that it does not happen by default. Yes, you are alive because you're supposed to be out living, but just because you're alive does not mean you are guaranteed to be living. Everyone who is living is in life, they're alive, but not everyone who's alive is living. You understand what I'm saying? I think Drake said it in the song, everybody dies, but not everybody lives. He's probably not the first person to say that. You must be proactive in designing and acting in the movie of your own life. In your life, look at your life as a movie. You are the script writer, you're the producer, you're the director, you're the star, actor, or actress, and you also got to be the audience. You got to pay attention to your own movie. Write your own script. You don't like the way things are going, rewrite the script. Change the script. Change the role that you have cast yourself in. If you don't like the direction of the movie, then start directing yourself differently. You don't like the way it's being produced, come up with a different production. A movie is a great metaphor for who you are as a person in life. But you must be proactive in doing all these things. The script is not going to get written by default if you don't sit down and write the script. In other words, if you don't sit down and decide who you want to be, what you want to be, and what you want to do in life, those things are not just going to happen. You're not just going to get this great life by default just because you just sat around and waited for something to happen. All right, what do I tell you every day at the introduction to this class? The energy of going and making things happen instead of waiting for things to happen. That go-getter energy, personal initiative. You got to take initiative in writing out your script. You got to take initiative in deciding what role you want to play in life. And if you don't like the role that you have given yourself or the role that was handed to you by default, you can change that role. But you must take responsibility for changing the role. You got to take responsibility for looking at your movie from a 10,000 foot view from way up above and saying, all right, what part of this movie do I not like? You can't just decide you're going to be the director and neglect the production, neglect the camera work, neglect the editing, neglect the acting, neglect the script writing. And then when those things aren't going the way you want, you are just like, well, I don't know what's wrong with my life. Well, it's because you have neglected to take control of the entire production. You got to take full control of the production of your own life and be proactive in doing so. You must take personal initiative, because if you don't take initiative to take control of how your life is going to work out, life will just hand you whatever cards it decides to hand you. It has no vested interest in you. It's not trying to make you lose, but it's also not trying to make you win. So where do you think you're going to end up? You're going to end up in the middle, neutral, with all the masses of losers in life who don't position themselves to win. If you're not positioning yourself to win, you're positioning yourself to lose. To win, you got to be proactive and take initiative in controlling your life. Many people think falsely that if they build it, they will come, as they said in Field of Dreams. If you build it, they will come. That's bullshit. It only happens in movies. If you build it in life and you're not proactive in getting whatever it is you want to come to what you built, okay, nothing's going to happen. All right, it'll just be there. It'll look beautiful, but nothing's going to happen. You'll get no results from it. And eventually you may be bitter and mad at yourself for even building it because nobody used it. You didn't even use it. You have to go out and get life. If you want life, you want to be living, you want some new shit going on in your life, all right, you got to be proactive in walking away from the old shit, putting the old shit on the shelf. It's not going to grow legs and walk away while you're gone. Put the old shit on the shelf and go do some new shit. All right, you want to be in the game, you got to play. All right, you can't sit on the sideline and say, I wonder why I'm not in the game. All right, you got to get your ass up off the bench and get on the field or the court, whatever sport you prefer. Point number 3. Today's topic is how to let go of old shit. Number 3, you got to keep working on your game and getting better. Because if you continue to do this, if you keep working on your game, making yourself smarter, faster, stronger, more resilient, more experienced, you keep doing things that are making you, allowing you, forcing you to evolve as a person, and you continue to improve. If you're working on your game, you will improve as long as you're working with the right tools. I'm giving you the tools every single day here on this masterclass. You will let go of old shit by default. You don't have to worry. You won't have to think about letting go of old shit. You do everything I'm telling you here today. You won't have to think about how to let go of old shit. You'll just do it automatically. And then when someone jogs your memory and say, hey, what were you doing in June of 2015? You can think of it, but then you'll realize, damn, I hadn't thought about that in a long time. And that's good. Why? Because it's 2020. Why do you still think about 2015? Because you got other things going on since then. You're working on your game, you're going to have other things going on. Why? Because your new shit, you as a person, the new shit you get involved in as a more evolved and smarter and 5 years later version of yourself, or 10 years or 20 years or 3 weeks later version of yourself, the new shit you do will be better than the old shit that you did simply because you're a better person at this point. We hold on to old shit because it's the best option available to us. So you know anyone who's still holding on to some old shit is because they don't have any better options. So they just keep holding on to that old thing because they ain't got nothing else going on. But when you're constantly working on your game, on the other hand, you will in aggregate get better over extended periods of time. So what I mean is, just because you are working on your game, this is a kind of a disclaimer here. Just because you're working on your game doesn't mean every single thing you do subsequently each time you're going to be a whole lot better than the previous time. And maybe sometimes you actually go backwards. You may take a step backwards here and there as you continue to work on your game. But in aggregate, when you look at a wide lens view of everything you do in your life, from 2010 to 2020, you'll get better. From 2020 to 2030, you'll get better. If you're working on your game the whole time, you will be better in 2030 than you are right now. Now, that doesn't mean every subsequent thing you do between now and 2030 is always going to be better than the previous thing. Doesn't mean your chart is going to be going up and to the right, as they say. You may have some downs, some peaks and valleys in that process. But overall, when you look at 2020, then you look at 2030, you will be decidedly better. You will be in an improved state in every area of your life as long as you continue to work on your game and proactively get better. Keyword, proactively get better. I told you a long time ago that puberty is the last time in life when human beings grow without trying. All right, after any of you who is out of puberty, I mean, let's say you're over the age of 21, or let's say even up to maybe 25. Okay, after that, you don't grow by default anymore. All right, there will be no more growth that just happens just because. All right, and any of you who's under that age, or you're 17, or you're 22, listening to this right now, listen, you're growing puberty-wise. Your brain is growing. Your decision-making, the decision-making part of your brain, they say it fully forms by around the age of 25. But I also heard people say that men don't reach really their peak maturity till around the age of 40. So there's some default growth that is going on, but the growth that I'm talking about, the growth of you becoming the person that you have the potential to become, all right, that doesn't happen by default. All right, that does not happen by default at all. All right, you must be proactive in that. You must be going after it. You got to decide who you want to be. Again, as I told you, being that movie director, I may do a whole episode just on that. You got to write out that script, be the producer, be the director, be the star actor, be everything else. You got to fund the film. You got to do everything. You got to buy the tickets. You got to sell the tickets. You got to do the marketing and promotion, put the billboards up, everything. You got to make the trailer, everything you got to do for your life if you want your life to turn out the way that you think it could, the way that you think you had a potential to have your life turn out. If you had a great college experience, for example, now I'm following up on my point where I said when you're constantly working on your game, you will in aggregate get better over an extended period of time. If you had a great college experience, for example, those of you who went to college and are out of college, if you did, you don't have to talk about high school. You don't have to hold on to your memories of high school because you had a great college experience. It replaced the old shit that was your high school experience. I'm assuming that you went to high school first, then you went to college second. You get it? If you have a great adult life, for example, you don't have to keep holding on to the old shit of your college life because your adult life has superseded the college life and your adult life is newer than your college life. So you can let it go. If you're still improving and getting better in your 40s, for example, then you don't have to keep holding on to how great life was when you were in your 20s. Now, if you got worse by your 40s, then you might still be holding on to who you were back in your 20s or who you were in high school or in college because you got worse. You start going backwards. Now, that's why people hold on to old shit. So when you meet someone that seems like they're living in the past, living in history, they're a museum piece that needs to be dusted off because they are still living in a time that has already gone away, is because they haven't gotten better. They're not doing anything better now. Therefore, they got to hold on to the best thing that at least the best thing they think that they have. And this all starts, begins, happens, and ends in your mind, ladies and gentlemen, if you didn't catch that. Let's recap today's class topic, which is how to let go of old shit. Talked about in masterclass number 1349. If you have not listened to it, it is about how to move on in life. Today is about how to stop letting the past take up space and live rent-free in your mind, especially if it is not making you better. If it is holding you in the same spot, it is making you worse. Point number one, history collects dust. That's what objects do. They're a trophy. It's like if you win a trophy, you take pictures with it, you're happy you have it, you'll take any congratulations people want to offer you because of it, because they remember you winning that trophy. But the trophy has already happened. It's over. All it does is collect dust while sitting on yourself. There's nothing else you can do about it. You cannot change it. You cannot go back and relive that moment. But you, personally, you're not an inanimate object. The trophy will collect dust because it can't change. You, as a human, you can change. So you do not sit in one place on a shelf as a relic of a past time like a trophy does. Point number two, replace the old shit with new shit. Many people can't let go of old shit because they treasure the memories so much. The reason why they treasure that memory so much is because they don't have any new memories to replace it. You can have had your greatest accomplishment 10 years ago. Doesn't mean you got to wake up and think about it and bask in that energy every single day forever. Do something else. Do something that's better than what you did 10 years ago. I mean, you had 10 years to get better. You can't come up with something better than what you did 10 years ago. Makes no sense. Life exists to be lived, folks. But it does not happen by default. You must be proactive and take personal initiative in designing and acting in the movie of your own life. You got to play every role. Many people think that if they build it, life will come. That just because you're alive, you're going to have life. That is not true. You got to go out and get life if you want it. And point number 3, keep working on your game and getting better, because you will let go of old shit by default, because your new shit will be better than the old shit. We hold on to old shit because it's the best option available to us. And when you're constantly working on your game, you will in aggregate get better over an extended period of time. So if you were great, had a great college life, you can let go of high school. If you have a great adult life, you can let go of college. If you're still getting better in your 40s, you can let go of your 20s. But if you're not getting better as time goes on, again, in the long run, you'll still be holding on to old stuff because that's the best thing you got. Don't let that be you. And you have 100% choice and control over this. Work on your game. Dre, all